It's reported that AA and other 12-step programs have success rates as low as 5 to 10%. Is this true? Stick around and find out. You're not going to want to miss this one. What's up, everybody? This is Chris from the Rewired Soul, where we talk about the problem but focus on the solution. And today we are going to be talking about the truth when it comes to AA and other 12-step program success rates. So in the link in the description below, you are going to see a link to an article from The Atlantic where an author basically talks about AA success rates and the failures of the AA program, and a lot of it is based around some research that Dr. Lance Dodes of Harvard Medical School did. All right, he has a book out that I'm debating on checking out. I might check it out. Anyways, this book is called The Sober Truth, Debunking the Bad Science Behind 12-Step Programs in the Rehab Industry. Pretty interesting, right? So I want to make it clear that there is a lot of science out there, a lot of doctors out there. Let me retract the word science. There's a lot of doctors out there, medical professionals, who are very, very against 12-step programs and because of their low success rates. So let's dive into that real quick. All right, so there are many medical professionals out there who talk about the low success rates of 12-step programs. And one commonality that you will see from all of the doctors who report this, they are not addicts or alcoholics in recovery, and they're not even ones who have ever worked this program. Anyways, what we gotta take a look at is what all these different 12-step programs are called, right? You have Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, all right? Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous. What do all of these 12-step programs have in common? The word anonymous. So in my experience, getting sober about 5 years ago, I started going to 12-step meetings. And I've been to, let's see, over 5 years, I've been to hundreds, if not thousands of meetings. And if you ask anybody in a 12-step program how many times they've been to a meeting and seen somebody in a corner with a clipboard and paper and jotting down a census and taking down statistics and success rates, the truth is that has literally never happened because it is an anonymous program. It is literally impossible to gauge the success rates of 12-step programs. So you will see that the doctors, or even the gentleman who wrote this article, you will see that they even admit that it is impossible to track the success rates. So this is very harmful. Why they are tarnishing the name of a program when they know for a fact that it is impossible to track the success rates. Now, I will tell you this. When the program first started back in the 1930s, Alcoholics Anonymous was the first program. And this is public knowledge. You can look it up on Google. They had a success rate of about 85%. Now, this was in the 1930s, and when this was recorded, this was when the program had maybe 100 or few hundred people. It was much easier to track the success rates. Now, just in the United States alone, there are thousands upon thousands of meetings and groups, and it's 2017. So it is much more difficult to track these success rates because it is an anonymous program. Now, I do want to pull out a quote from this article, which is absolutely mind-boggling because it is probably the #1 reason that people use when it comes to 12-step programs not working. So, in the article, it says, and I quote, "This contrasts with AA's self-reported figures. A 2007 internal survey found that 33% of members said they had been sober for more than a decade. 12% claimed sobriety for 5 to 10 years. 24% were sober for 1 to 5 years, and 31% were sober for under a year. Now, this internal survey, just real quick, I'm gonna have to go look it up. I didn't know 12-step programs did this, but I'll check it out because I've personally never been or seen any of this. I got sober in 2012, so maybe that's something they did back in 2007. I don't know. But continuing on with this quote, of course, those don't take into account the large number of alcoholics who never make it through their first year of meetings, subsequently never completing the 12 steps. Parentheses, the definition of success by AA standards. Well, yeah. Like, of course, statistics are only going to be graded or by the amount of people who actually worked the program. That is one of the misconceptions about these statistics. Sure, a lot of people stop going to meetings. Sure, a lot of people relapse, but they didn't actually work the program. Let's put it into medical terms, okay? Let's say that you had heart disease and you went to the doctor and the doctor prescribed you a heart medication. This is an amazing heart medication that works for pretty much everybody who takes it. They send you on your way with your prescription and you come back a month later and you go in and you tell that doctor, this medication didn't work. And the doctor's like, really? You've been taking it this whole time? And you're like, well, no, I never filled that prescription and didn't take the medication. How are you going to say the medication didn't work if you never took the medication, right? Let's use another example in case you're not following me here with the medical industry. Let's say you go into an auto repair shop and you have a blown out tire, all right? And they say, well, tire's blown out, you need a new tire. And you're like, no thanks, I don't think I'm gonna do that. You leave and you come back the next day and you start screaming at the guy in the shop and say, hey, my tire's still blown out and I just came here yesterday. They would look at you like you're a lunatic and say, well, yeah, we gave you the solution and you decided not to take it. So what do you want us to do about that? Like, think about that. Think about that when you're looking at these success rates. In my experience, in my personal experience, I have seen, and this is, by the way, the only reason I was even sold on 12-step programs, because I saw the pattern. I saw it with my own two eyes. I saw the people who were attending meetings and working the program as it was designed were living better lives while also staying sober. That is literally the only reason I did it, because I saw it with my own eyes. Anytime I saw somebody relapse, there was always a commonality that they weren't working the program. So I'm like, okay, this seems like a pretty simple decision. On this side, you have people who are staying sober and living amazing lives, and this side, you have people who are relapsing constantly. Which group do I want to go into? It's not that hard of a decision to make once you see it with your own two eyes. And when we're talking about these doctors and scientists who are talking about these success rates, they need to take that into consideration. Now, just to go further into it, some of you know this, I work at a rehab facility. And just so you know a little bit about what my position is there, my job is to keep in touch with people after they leave treatment, okay? So I follow up with them, I call them and check in and say, hey, how you doing? They have my number too. They can always call me if they're struggling and need somebody to talk to. I have a lovely work cell phone right here, right? And they can always call me. Well, when I call people and make follow-up calls, let me give you an example of a call. Hey, this is Chris. How you doing? Just wanted to check in on you. Hey man, what's up? Hey, just wanted to see, are you doing okay? Are you all right? Yeah man, I just got 90 days sober, yeah. Do you see now how hard it is to track the success rates? I call people who are clearly drunk or high and they tell me that they're not. And we deal with people, my rehab facility in particular, we deal with people from all over the country. What am I going to do? What's the solution? Do I fly out to Iowa, Massachusetts, Florida, West Virginia, Illinois? Do I fly to all these people and just start drug testing them, making them pee in a cup for me like they were in rehab? No, I can't. Success rates in this field when it comes to addiction are very, very hard to track. It's hard to track with any mental illness. It's hard to gauge the success because a lot of it is quality of life. So let's say the success rates for anxiety or depression or bipolar disorder or PTSD, right? The most you can really check in on is the reduction of symptoms. How many symptoms do you have now? Is it more? Is it less? Is it the same? Right? So, but when it comes to addiction, basically we would have to drug test every single person. Now, I'll do a whole nother video about this next subject, which is drug court programs. And this is my final thought and final piece that I need to say about this. This article also talks about how these 12-step programs are pretty much running the rehab industry as well as drug court programs. In places where they have drug courts, you will be required to go to 12-step meetings if you don't want to go to jail. You have to check in with a judge. Usually you have to do random drug tests and all these other things. And this article is basically saying, like, we don't like that. That doesn't work. That's not scientifically proven. Well, I'm about to let you in on a very little known secret. The American healthcare system sucks. Regardless of 12-step success rates, the reality is all these people preaching that 12-step programs don't have high success rates, or even if they disagree with the program, if they disagree with the steps, they can disagree with this all day long. But the reality is that for many people, it is the last house on the block. It is the only option. A lot of people do not have health insurance that will send them to a rehab facility. Many people have state insurance if they are a true addict or alcoholic. The people who have destroyed their lives as a result of addiction are typically on state insurance. And when you have state insurance, there is usually a very, very long wait list just to get into treatment. And whether or not this treatment is even a good treatment facility, pretty much rolling the dice. So of course, these places are going to recommend that you go to a 12-step program because in case you didn't get the memo, they are free. That's right, F-R-E-E, free. Okay, so that's one of the reasons they recommend them. But if we're looking at the science, science has regularly shown that longer lengths of stay in treatment mean higher chances of success in staying sober. So just to let you know, in the United States, it is very, very difficult to increase your length of stay when you have health insurance, even if you have private health insurance, like through your job, through your parents, through your husband, through your wife, whatever it is. Even with that, most insurance companies are going to typically give you 30, maybe 45 days. Some facilities can stretch it out to 90. There are other ways, and if you want me to do videos on this, leave it in the comments. There are other places where they'll stretch it out maybe like 6 months, and you will see that that's true. But what about the people where their health insurance says, sorry, you're fixed, get out of here? You know what I mean? So when we're faced with that issue, what else are people gonna do but go to these 12-step programs and realize that this is their only option? Do you know how much therapy costs? Do you know how much it costs to see a therapist, even if you have health insurance? It's pretty pricey. So if you're an addict or alcoholic who has ruined your life and destroyed your finances, sometimes that's not an option. Sometimes it's not an option to keep following up with a therapist and doing cognitive behavioral therapy. Sometimes it's not an option to go through ACT or EMDR or any of those other evidence-based therapies. Sometimes that's not an option. So what else are they gonna do? They're forced to go to these 12-step programs like I was, because I had no health insurance, and I basically went into that program knowing that if that didn't work for me, I was going to die. So you know what I did? I shut my mouth and I did what they told me to do. And here I am, a guy who was once a hopeless drug addict and alcoholic. I'm sitting here with 5 years sober. I have my little boy in the next room laughing, watching YouTube videos as I sit here and record a little bit more serious one. And my life is amazing today because I zipped my lips, I listened, and I took the suggestions. Or to go back to my previous analogy, I took the medicine that was being offered to me. And look at where it landed me. I'm in a great place. So I hope this helped explain to you a little bit more about these statistics that are out there about 12-step programs. So if you like this video, if you'd like to see me do more like it, please give it a thumbs up. I'd also like to hear from you. What do you think about this article? What do you think about the success rates? Leave it in the comments below. And please, please, please feel free to share this with others who believe that 12-step programs have these low success rates. But as always, if you haven't yet, go ahead and click right below this video and you'll see the subscribe button. And if you're new here, subscribe. I'm always doing content about addiction, mental health, and all that stuff. So this is Chris with the Rewired Soul, and I'll see you next time.